He will also take a few questions. And indeed, he's also representing a minister who has been very, very engaging with us. And even though he's not here, he's here with us in spirit and in Mr. Patrick Nimo. So issues relating to trade and industry will also be there.
Yes. Mine is not a question. It's things that you may look at going forward. My name is Charles. I'll not mention my company. The one Registrar General Department. As you know, when you were in Katamanto, the situation is the same as today. Nothing has improved there. So if Registrar General Department, nothing has been improved. Since you were in Katamanto, the way it was the same thing it is today. The exemption process for importation of raw materials, it takes too much a time to get approval. Sometimes 21 days, 40 days from Ministry of Agriculture, Agric Engineering, GRA, and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, there's no query. If there's a query, we have delayed it, I understand it. But there's no single query, and the goods will be sitting at the port, paying demurrages. You have to ask staff to go home because the raw material is sitting at the port. 3, the business with ECOWAS, please, is important. That's why we are here. The man has allowed, so let him be aware. The importation, export to ECOWAS, the documentation process and delay is too much, especially to Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire and so on and so forth. The documentation is too much. They will ask for M-form number, BA number, RAN number, SUNCAP number, SUNCAP certificate. Meanwhile, when we are exporting to UK and Thailand, they ask no documentation. Is the normal BL and commercial invoice and so on and so forth. So why all this documentation, but yet there's no improvement? So please, I will be glad that you look at it, because Minister of Trade is also here. Thank you.
2 more questions that we can ask them.
Thank you very much. My name is Apia Kusi Adumakon from CATS, Ghana. My question goes to the Minister of Finance. If you look at our tax to GDP ratio, it is still below 15%. And if you look at the average within Africa, which is 22%, and with our rate-based economy, it shows that almost 20 billion Ghana cedis worth of taxes are not collected in the country. I would like to ask you, how are you going to get this 20 billion? Because this is more in excess of how much we are getting from the Sino Hydro. How are you going to get this money without necessarily increasing, bringing new nuisance taxes so that businesses will not suffer? Because anytime taxes are introduced, those who are already paying are those who are made to pay those taxes. So, Mr. Minister, the 20 billion cedis that are still in people's pocket that they are not paying.
I think it's clear. It's clear. Okay.
Thank you.
Please bring the mic here, Vice President. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Maureen Erekoa Odrey from AABN and a member of the association. I'd like to kindly ask Honorable Minister Finance that we first would like to say a big thank you to government for consent to support the AGI on the trade fair issue. Would like you to kindly spell out how government is going to support AGI on this particular matter. Thank you.
Yeah, can you bring?
I am a Kopiko Jensen since the minister started from Katamanto. Me too, I started from Big Farm. We had this conversation before, and I think that probably you were going to think about it. I heard from my president's speech about the issues. I don't think the issues in Ghana are that difficult. But it seems to me that since we are facing all these on a cash situations, it's making life difficult. I've heard that the Kumfi factory is only about $5 million. Now, if you put that into an equity and debt ratio, probably equity about 30% or 70-30, probably XM probably would have been contributing only about 1.5, and the rest would be debt, by the shareholders. that multiplied by the one is in one factory, I'm sure that we'll be having a very major breathing, area. As long as we continue doing it on a cash basis, 26% from the banks. I think the Singapore guy who came here, they have, equity policies in Singapore. So is Malaysia, 35%. Sri Ramaphosa also did that. We have 30% in South Africa. Why can't we, also quickly facilitate that? Because if we don't do it, I don't know who's going to do it. It's a very simple issue. With your pen and your paper and your policy, you have an equity loss in Ghana. And I wanted to implore you that I think that's all that is needed in this country today. We're doing a major project right now. Mr. Minister, when you look at Kumasi alone, has a 2.2 million citizens living in Kumasi, a 1 kilometer radius. E-commerce alone, is enough to bring you a lot of revenue that worry yourself too much about the airports. So I believe that let's try and reconsider some of these cash policies and 100% financing to the banks, and bring some equity policy so that we can move Ghana to the next step. Thank you.
Very much for this interaction, and Charles, thank you for the issues that you have raised. I'm sure there's more to do at the Registrar General, but I know when I had to line up in the 1990s at the Registrar General, a few things in technology have changed since then, but there is more to be done, that's for sure. I think the issue of importation of raw materials and then your ECOWAS issues, are certainly things that we need to interrogate and facilitate. I mean, the big thing that I know our Minister of Trade is really concerned about is trade facilitation, and he keeps talking about that. So I'll go and burn his ear a little bit more on those areas. Mr. Appiah Kusi, I think you really have hit on a very important issue for us as a country with regards to who pays taxes and who doesn't pay taxes. And sometimes we talk about the informal sector, and your mind goes straight to the Makula woman or the person doing the broke man on the street or the little kids selling on the street. But the informal sector is almost like in three parts. There's people who live in areas that I live in, like cantonments, etc., who have their private law firms and private clinics and, are professionals, and they are not paying taxes, but we don't call them informal. So we need to figure out a way, in my mind, where you just cannot operate if you are not part of some association. And if you are then part of an association, it's easy for me to find you to ensure that I tax you. So that's something, and that would include masons and everything. You as a citizen should not be hiring a mason who is not part of an association. Not only because I want to tax, but certainly, at least in Germany, it ensures that there's constant retraining, that they won't burn your house down, etc., etc. So it has many ramifications as you formalize the industry. And then, of course, you have people that we usually call informal, and places like Rwanda, they now have an app on everybody's phone, which then, at least a flat rate of some sort is collected one way or the other. So yes, we need to, but there has to be, Mr. Appiah Kusi, there has to be truly an honest dialogue. And that's part of the reason why we started this partnership with faith-based organizations, as to whether we can get to a point where maybe twice a year in churches, the issue of paying to Caesar what Caesar goes is also preached, because if they can be so effective in raising money for themselves, then the state also deserves at least two weeks in a year for that. But that's open discussions and honest appraisal of who we are as a people and where we want to go and the sacrifices that come. I just came from Equatorial Guinea, and they have social housing, and they have a lot of people who live in Spain, And so these people come back from Spain, and suddenly they don't want to pay the maintenance fee for the social housing, but they wouldn't dare do that in Spain. So what happens to us when we come in this huge sense of entitlement as to what government should do or not do, and what we should do about taxes? So those are honest discussions. You know, me living in cantonments and my property tax is what, maybe 300 or 400 CDs a year. That's ridiculous. You know, it shouldn't be. So there's a whole realignment and readjustment, and us being truthful to ourselves to then move to the next era, because I'm sure it may be even more than 20 billion. We have a new leadership at GRA, and I think Prof. Ade, who is the chairman, and his team are people who I think will revolutionize what we are doing there. But one of the key issues is digitalization. And so we're going to spend a lot of money on that, so that we know where everybody is. And we can have big data. If I go and register a car, and then I also have bought 10 plane tickets a year, and then I say I only earn 30,000 cedis a year, the data will come together, and I'll ask you, how is it possible? And then you show me your address, unless your grandfather let you that building. I need to know. You know, so that it becomes really a very open society, and we all begin to do the right thing. You know, it's going to take some time to do it. I think once we begin to have the conversation in churches amongst ourselves, then you don't feel like GRA is coming at you, but then you are fulfilling your responsibilities as a citizen of the Republic. I think former President Kofi talks about the whole issue of equity, and that certainly is being looked at. The introduction of the National Development Bank is really an attempt to begin to see, because the challenge, the panic for us sometimes is you are creating a strong, stable economy, but you don't want to wake up in 5 years and realize that you created it for foreigners. And so, but as long as you are here for a long time, and you are also an indigenous person, I need to find a way to get the requisite capital at rates that make sense to you, so that we own our economy while still ensuring that the needed capital also comes from outside, and they also feel comfortable in our environment. I think your president has said that he would respond to the issue of the AGI and its building. But I actually, read quite a number of the documents, and there was one part of me that was wondering how an AGI should be looking for freebies. And so I kept reading it and trying to wonder, but anyway, there's always a transition time, I guess, that should be done. And maybe it's our responsibility to create the billionaires, and then they will not be asking. They will not be asking for that. So truly, thank you very much for this. I appreciate it. I need to respond to cabinet now, but I really appreciate the time.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We invite the Vice President of AGI to give us a vote of thanks, so we can escort the ministers out. Thank you.
Hausa Television.